So Marla Bardine, I am the Executive Director of the National Network for Youth. I use she, her pronouns. The weather where I am is also pretty cloudy. And I'm going to be talking about the Earned Income Tax Credit for homeless and foster youth. This is a new expansion that we're excited about, and we were pretty involved in the advocacy as well as some conversations around implementation with Treasury and IRS. Next slide, please. So a little bit about us. We're on a mission to transform systems so that no young person in America experiences homelessness. We do have a 300 youth homelessness service provider network across the United States. And we also partner with over 40 young people with lived experience of homelessness that informs all aspects of our work and our programming. Next slide, please. Our programs are in three main buckets: federal policy advocacy, youth and young adult partnerships, and then we do long-term partnerships with communities, our place-based work, and we implement what we call local cross-system collaboratives to prevent and end youth and young adult homelessness. Next slide, please. So specifically, the Earned Income Tax Credit for homeless and foster youth. So now homeless and foster youth without dependents are now eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit. So up to $1,502 based on income levels. Young people can claim the credit by checking the box on line 27 on their 2021 tax returns. There are no documents needed at the time of filing, just check the box. Next slide, please. So these are just the definition of who's qualified. A qualified homeless is individuals who certify that they are unaccompanied youth, which means they're unaccompanied by a parent or a legal guardian. It doesn't mean that they're, that's what it means. Who is homeless or who is at risk of homelessness and who is self-supporting. So nobody else is supporting them. And a qualified foster youth is an individual between the ages of 14 and 17 were in foster care and who provide consent for the entities who administered the foster care program to disclose information related to their status of a former foster youth. That just means they consent to the Child Welfare Agency to confirm to the IRS that they were in foster care between the ages of 14 and 17. Next slide, please. So individuals must be at least 18 years old, and we put like the actual dates they were born because that can be helpful. So they need to have been born after January 1st, 1998 and before January 2nd, 2004. And I'll answer questions at the end, though it's hard for me not to look at the chat and just answer questions. So qualified homeless and foster youth can receive the Earned Income Tax Credit, even if they are full-time students. This is a departure from previous tax years, and it's incredibly important to vulnerable youth who are still in high school or pursuing higher education, that they can get the Earned Income Tax Credit and also be students. So next slide, please. So these are some of the barriers that we hear from young people and providers that homeless and foster youth face when trying to access any tax benefits. We saw similar barriers when it came to trying to access the economic stimulus payments over the past couple of years. So the first is a lot of young people don't know that they qualify for tax benefits. A lot of young people don't know how to file taxes. Many of our young people don't have a bank account. They don't have an address. And then the more complex issue, though they're all kind of challenging, is parents may claim young people, foster parents may claim foster children, and then parents of youth experiencing homelessness may also claim them on their taxes to get the benefits. Next slide. And in our conversations and focus groups with young people, letting them know about these tax benefits that are A lot of them said that it sounded too good to be true. And it sounded like a scam. And so it's really important that, we overcome that barrier, because these young people have faced many challenges, and they're just not used to being like, oh, I can get $1,500 because I'm a foster youth or a homeless youth. It just sounds too good to be true to them. So now we'll talk about some solutions. So the first is to share information to ensure that young people know they qualify for these tax benefits. So some of our tips are: use communication methods that are relevant to young people. And don't ask me how to use any of these things: TikTok, Snapchat, or Instagram. I am not TikTok competent. And also in your communications, emphasize that this money is not a scam, not a loan. This is real. And advertise in places where youth experiencing homelessness and foster youth frequent. So like drop-in centers, employment centers, different schools, high schools, community colleges, universities, different healthcare centers, just wherever foster youth and youth experiencing homelessness are likely to go. Advertise the tax benefits there, and then also obviously where they can get assistance in filing taxes. Which goes on to the next slide. So it really is critical that young people have help in filing their taxes, and that you share free tax filing resources. So there are VITA programs, there's low-income taxpayer clinics, taxpayer advocate services, there's Free File Online, there's getyourrefund.org. So, but telling young people about free services, isn't enough. It can be difficult for young people to go to, in-person clinics. They might have transportation barriers. So, it really is important that there is an adult that is able to help young people file their taxes, whether it is at one of these free locations, or, we encourage our providers who run drop-in centers and shelters to provide a computer and to help walk young people through actually filing their taxes using maybe one of the free online filing tools to do so. Next slide. Also, youth do need help. Oh, sorry, I think I did it. Opening a bank account or providing an address. Sorry, I didn't update. So you can help young people open a bank account. And we do emphasize that service providers do that. And also, whenever you need to file taxes, you need an address. So for young people experiencing homelessness or foster youth who may not have a permanent address, you can use the shelter's address, a drop-in center's address. Most programs allow young people to use their address for mail purposes, for tax filing purposes. Also, there are community action centers and other community-based services that regularly allow folks to use their address. And then when it comes to opening a bank account, again, young people just usually need help filling out the paperwork so that they can have that bank address. And then if they don't have a bank account to get the money electronically deposited, again, they can use an address to have a check physically mailed, though a bank account is quicker and preferred. Next slide, please. So this is a big barrier that I think gets overlooked a lot in the tax filing space. So a lot of our young people are afraid to file taxes to get a tax benefit because they don't want to get their parent in trouble, or they're worried about what would happen if they try to claim a tax benefit. So it's really important for young people to understand what is the process for receiving tax benefits if a parent or legal guardian claims them on a tax filing. So I think most people know that the IRS will not accept a tax return from a youth if they have already been claimed as a dependent on another tax return. Youth whose returns are declined because they have been claimed as a dependent will need to file their taxes by mail. There is no online solution at this point. And then the IRS will send a letter to both parties asking for more information. And in the end, one of the parties is going to need to amend their tax return. The potential for a young person of being fraudulently claimed is another reason why it is important for young people to check that box on line 27 of the 1040. Checking this box kind of gives the IRS context on any competing claims, and it will help the IRS resolve duplicate claims so that homeless and foster youth can get their credit. One thing that has been recommended is that youth may apply for an identity protection personal identification number to protect their ability to file on their own behalf. If a youth files an IP PIN, they have to then use that PIN when they file their taxes electronically. If the PIN is lost, they would need to file by paper, which can take many more months to process. And you can apply to get a PIN at irs.gov, get a IP PIN, and youth can access the application to enroll in the IP PIN program, or if they're already enrolled, then they can retrieve or view their IP PIN, which is the quickest way to get an IP PIN. So that, I think that's a summary of my presentation. We are a membership organization. We're always looking for more partners. So we'd love to have you all consider becoming a member.